Hey guys, welcome back. Me and my buddy, the Sand Crane, we're just out here enjoying a little bit warmer weather. Everything's melting off, as you can probably tell, and it's a big soupy mess right now. We're getting ready to head down to Texas and do some hunting. But before we left, we figured we would share something with you guys, a handgun that is actually one of my favorite handguns from history. This handgun is extremely unique. I can't think I remember ever seeing another handgun that was quite like it. And the handgun I want to talk about is the H&K P7. Now the P7, it looks perhaps somewhat conventional externally, but this is a very unique handgun. Now it didn't do a whole lot of firsts. It's a gas-delayed handgun, but the Steyr GB I think predates it. I'm not sure, I'd have to check my dates on that one, but it's a gas-delayed handgun. This one is a single stack. It holds 8 rounds, which is why they call it a P7M8 and another variation. This is an early P7. I'll talk about the differences between it and the M8. I don't have an M8 out here this afternoon, but I do have an M13, which I want to show you guys. But the P7 is one of those handguns that HK quit making that I really wish they would bring back, and I think a lot of HK folks feel the same way. I suppose HK probably made the decision to stop manufacturing them because they were no longer selling, which I find hard to believe, but maybe that is the case. I mean, single stack magazine handguns were a thing, then they weren't a thing, and now they are a thing again. This is a very cool handgun for concealed carry. And I also know that several police departments, when I was a kid growing up, I remember the Kansas Highway Patrol actually using P7M13s. I saw several officers with the guns. So they've been used by law enforcement, and they've been popular with civilians, or at least they were at one time. Let's talk about this interesting little piece of HK history, have some fun with it this afternoon, and maybe we can convince HK to start making them again. So what this handgun does that truly makes it unique is I want to release the magazine here. This is one of the features of the P7M8 that is absent from the original P7. The P7 has a heel release magazine, but it holds an 8-round single stack magazine. Insert the magazine, locks into place, grab the charging handle, pull it to the rear. You'll notice the barrel did not move. That's because the barrel is fixed on the handgun. It has a polygonal rifling and a fixed barrel. The handguns are known for their accuracy. The gun is completely safe, even though it's loaded right now. And you'll notice that it has a striker back here on the rear of the gun, but despite that, the striker is at rest. The gun is drop safe. To ready the weapon, you have a lever right here in the front of the grip. You squeeze the gun and you'll hear it click. And now you can see the striker drawn to the rear. The M8 will have a slightly different end cap, so the pin doesn't protrude quite so much. But now you know that the weapon is ready. To make the weapon safe, there are no manual safeties. Just simply release your grip. It clicks, the striker goes home safely, and the gun doesn't fire. Put it back in the holster. A very, very cool gun. This is a gun, one of the very few that I would actually consider sticking in a pocket if it was just a little bit smaller, because it's completely 100% safe until you squeeze it and make the gun ready to shoot. I'm going to take a shot at a little cardboard target we have downrange. Because it's so muddy, our challenge targets, our little stake and shoots, won't stand upright. They'll fall over in the mud. We have to wait for the ground to firm up a little bit. Now you'll notice the gun locked open on the last round fired. If I had another magazine out here, I don't because I was a dingbat and left them back at the shop. I would just simply drop this magazine out. It has a heel release. I push that little heel release, pull on the magazine, it comes out. Take a freshly loaded magazine, insert it into the gun, and the squeeze cocker also acts as a slide release. I just simply squeeze the gun, takes a round, puts it in the chamber, gets it ready to fire, strikers to the rear to make it safe, release my grip, put it in the holster. The gun's 100% safe. Let's take a closer look at this interesting piece of HK history. The P7 does make an outstanding concealed carry handgun. you'll notice that the gun is very narrow, very slender, and very concealable. The gun does not have any external controls because of that squeeze cocking system that I showed you. The slide release, the cocking, the decocking, everything is handled by this simple lever mechanism right here in the front. Let me see if I can squeeze it with 2 fingers. It's actually surprisingly ergonomic. It does not pinch you here. I don't have a P7M8. I've had 2 in my life, and I foolishly sold them someday. I hope to replace the P7, not replace it, but add another M8 to my collection. This is a standard P7. Some of the features difference would be, I already pointed out, this is flush back here. The pin sticks out quite a bit when it's cocked. You'll have a slightly different end cap here that's a little bit taller, so that pin doesn't stick out quite as far. You'll have an ambi mag release that'll be located right here. You'll also, so you get rid of your heel release, and you'll also have a polymer heat shield that's right here, which is critical because the way these handguns function is you have a gas piston that's attached to the front. We'll do a field strip and show you, and that gas piston comes back into a little gas pocket right here. The minute that bullet leaves the case and starts its path down the barrel, gas is tapped off, pushes forward on that gas piston, which is pushing the slide forward and keeping it locked up until gas pressures drop off by the bullet exiting the barrel. Gas pressures drop off, and the recoil then brings the slide to the rear and then goes home chambers another round. It's an ingenious design, and it also has a fluted chamber and polygonal rifling trademarks of HK firearms from the era of this handgun. So I'm gonna go ahead and now that there's no way to lock the slide to the rear that I'm aware of without having an empty magazine in it. So I'm gonna take a full magazine, insert it into the gun, charge it. Again, drop safe, very small, very thin, very cool for concealability. And I really like the way these guns shoot. They are known for their reliability. I've owned 4 or 5 P7s throughout the years, and I've never had a malfunction that I can recall with one of the pistols. Now that's the P7. A lot of people weren't happy with just 8 rounds. This is the P7M13. Now this one has the features of the M8. So we have the ambi magazine release right here, and we also have it right here. We also have that polymer heat shield I was talking about. The big difference is look at that cavernous grip frame. So when you take a look at the M13 as compared to the M8, well, this is an M8, just a standard P7. I may screw up and call it an M8. My contract allows for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 stupid comments per video. You can see the size differences in the grips, okay? So now the P7M13 is a little bit chunkier, still concealable. And we'll show them side by side here. So we have the single stack on the right, we have the double stack on the left, and it looks like the double stack M13 might be a little bit unergonomic. It really isn't. The gun is actually quite ergonomic. Let me put this little P7 away in my back pocket here. And around here somewhere I have an M13 magazine. So here's the M13 magazine. Look at the awkward geometry of this magazine. So it looks like, look how tall. It's staggered magazine, then it comes up to a single column here at the top, but look how tall that single column is. The M13 is based on the M8, or the standard P7. So that's why I think that they had to make it so tall, is so they wouldn't have to change too much of the dimensions on the upper half, and they were just trying to make for a larger magazine that held 13 rounds. And on this side, we have windows on the magazine, but we also have windows on the standard P7 magazine and the M8 and just the standard P7 magazine windowed as well. So this gun, again, you put that double stack magazine in. We have that same front strap on it. Pull it to the rear, let it go. Now remember when I was telling you that the M8 on the single stack had a slightly different rear end cap? There you can see that. When I squeeze the weapon, you can see now that the striker is showing you that the weapon's ready to fire. When I release my grip on the gun, it decocks the gun safely. So now I have 13 rounds. The gun actually feels a little bit better in my large hands. The M13, the P7 is really, really narrow and skinny. Makes for a great concealability handgun, but from an ergonomic standpoint, it's not quite to my liking. It leaves dead airspace on either side. M13 fills my hand a lot better. The triggers are made out of polymer. They're very ergonomic. The guns just shoot well. What a fun little gun to shoot. Yeah, I really do wish H&K would bring these pistols back. They probably destroyed the tooling. It's a shame if they have. Such a great pistol. They've always been really expensive though, and I think that's probably why they kind of fell out of favor, but H&K guns in general are expensive, so I can't see that being a contributing factor to the demise of the gun. I don't know. Maybe people just didn't understand the concept. Me, I think it's ingenious. The ammunition that we're shooting out here this afternoon is 124 grain federal ammunition. It's donated to us by the guys over at Freedom Munitions. We do have a discount code down below. If you want to use that code, it's MAC. It gives you 6% off anything in the store. They don't just sell Freedom Munitions branded ammunition. They sell things like Federal and many other brands. So it's just a thank you, guys. We get no kickback from the use of that code. You use it, get 6% off. They really have good prices, especially on their remanufactured ammunition. Even their brand new Freedom brand ammunition is extremely affordable in today's market prices. But if you're looking for something else, they sell it too, and the code's good, stored wide. Oh, what to shoot? There's not a whole lot to shoot out here, guys. We got water and a really soggy cardboard target that fell over because we're dealing with intermittent downpours. Let's just shoot at my soggy cardboard target at about 50 yards. The 3-dot sights on this handgun are really easy to pick up. They're not night sights. It's like little round plastic dots in there. The gun recoils straight back into your hand. Take a look at that bore axis, guys. That's the center of bore right there. Now I know some guys are going to say, oh, it doesn't matter if your bore's up here or if it's down here. I do feel that it makes a difference because I shoot handguns like this one much more quickly and accurately than I do other handguns that have a higher bore axis, something like the P226. I like the 226, but that bore axis, man, it does make a difference if you ask me. This little handgun is just so easy to use. It really has one control, and it's just that grip in the front of the pistol. Drop the slide, ready the weapon, squeeze it, make the weapon safe, release it. I mean, how simple can you get? German engineering at its finest. Both of these P7s field strip in the exact same way. And I apologize if you guys hear the sounds of rain. It's because it's raining and we have a tin roof over our heads. So I'm going to take an empty magazine and I'm going to put it in here to lock the slide to the rear. Heel release, push forward on this. It'll eject its magazine forcefully, make sure that the weapon's empty. I'm going to go ahead and let the slide go home by pulling it to the rear and releasing it. I didn't have to use the squeeze cocker to do it. This button right here is not a safety. This is a takedown button. So with the slide forward, push this button in, slightly pull the slide to the rear and lift up, and then and wiggle, and the gun will come apart. So that's fully disassembled. Now you can see that fixed barrel, and this is your gas piston. This piston sets just underneath the barrel and a little cup right back here. And again, there's a little hole drilled right in front of the chamber of the barrel that vents propellant gases off into this cup, which then pushes forward on this piston, keeping the gun closed and in battery until the bullet exits the barrel, the gas pressures drop off, and then recoil allows the slide to come to the rear, and then the spring pushes it back home. Extremely simple. Now, putting it back together can be a bit challenging because you have to line up this piston with a little tiny hole that's underneath the barrel. All right, so I'm gonna take my recoil spring, slide it over the barrel, line it up, and this, you can't really see what I'm doing, but I'm just kind of wiggling it around, holding this button, and then there you go. It just pops back together. It takes a little bit of patience. Just kind of wiggle the gun around, get that piston to jump up and down. It'll finally find that hole, and then the gun will go back together. The P7M13, exactly the same thing. Drop the magazine out, make sure that the weapon is empty, let the slide go home, push in the button. It sticks out just a bit more. Okay, you can see it sticks out just a little bit more. This one's underneath the slide. This one sticks out past the slide. That's an M8 feature on the single stack. Push the button in, pull it slightly to the rear, lift up. The gun comes right apart. Put it back together again. Just kind of wiggle things around, push that button in, and it goes back together. It's a very, very simple all steel construction. The only polymer on it is the trigger, the heat shield, and the grip panels themselves. Other than that, you're looking at an all steel handgun. I just love the way these things look. I love the way they shoot. I love everything about them. The only downside is if you're out shooting and you have 10 magazines, first of all, you're Bill Gates because the magazines are expensive, as are the guns, but they get really, really hot. So after you fire 100 rounds in rapid succession through the guns, they heat up because you have a gas system right here. That's the reason the triggers are made out of polymer, is because if they were made out of metal, it would burn your trigger finger very, very quickly. On the original P7, they didn't have a heat shield. The trigger is polymer. They don't have a heat shield here. So after a couple of boxes of ammunition of rapid fire, just putting your finger in there and having it touch this part of the frame would burn you badly. I know, because I've shot this gun to the point where it actually burnt me. So that's why they wound up putting this little polymer heat shield in there, so it protects your finger from the heat generated by the gas system that's just right above the trigger assembly. We hope you guys enjoyed coming out and hanging out with us here in the not so cold but really mucky weather of Northwest Indiana today. We've been dealing with on and off showers all afternoon, but yeah, we enjoy bringing you guys to the range with us and doing a little bit of shooting. For some of you, maybe you've never heard of the P7 before. To many of you, you probably have. If you guys are looking at buying a handgun like this, you're going to have to go to the used gun market. Go to gunbroker.com, shop your local gun counters at your local gun shops, maybe find one in the used gun case. They're just no longer made, and that just sucks, as I've already said probably 100 times in this video. Guys, we are viewer supported. That means YouTube really doesn't pay us anything anymore. There was a time where we could sustain the channel just on YouTube revenue from AdSense. That's no longer the case. They've pretty much cut us off at the knees. Gun channels, knife channels, airsoft channels, conservative speech channels, and even gaming channels and stuff. Everybody's been hit by what we call adpocalypse, so we are viewer supported. Swing by Patreon, check out our different tiers of support, but we do all sorts of cool stuff to try to give something back to you guys that support us directly so we can continue to bring you the content hopefully you enjoy. We have $300 in Freedom munitions that we give away. We give $100 of ammunition away to 3 lucky winners every single month, thanks to our Freedom munitions friends. Also, we have t-shirts like this Repeal the NFA t-shirt. We have many more to choose from our t-shirt store over at forgedfromfreedom.com. We give 5 of these shirts away every month to lucky patrons. But we also post behind the scenes information, all sorts of cool stuff. Please swing by, check it out. Also swing by and check us out over at Copper Custom. We like to take video guns every once in a while. If we get a gun in that we think is interesting, but I don't necessarily want to keep, which is really hard for me not to do, we'll put it up on the new auction site over at Copper Custom. Sometimes we run across some really cool stuff that comes in on trade, and other times we'll put video guns up. Right now, as we're recording this, the Glock 19X is up for auction from the video that we shot here on the Mac range. So please swing by and check us out over at Copper Custom. Guys, 10 years we've been doing this, and without your support for these last 10 years, we just simply couldn't have done it, obviously. Thank you for those 10 years of support. Thank you for supporting us going forward. And the last 8 rounds out of my P7, we're gonna go home, dry off, do some video editing, pack up, and head to Texas, do some hunting, and we will bring you guys along. Talk to you in Texas here soon.